What is going on, football fans? Today, I wanted to do a little something different. Normally, I do a daily training camp report. Unfortunately, last night I was busy. I didn't get a chance to get one up in a timely manner as it was a morning practice. So today, I figured what I would do is I would do a rookie training camp report and go over how these rookies have performed to date throughout training camp. And there's been a couple of guys who have really stood out. As far as yesterday goes, Eli Manning continued to look great. He had great chemistry with Cody Latimer. If you go and look on Twitter, it blew up. He threw a beautiful back shoulder fade to Latimer on the sideline, very reminiscent of the Mario Manningham catch in the Super Bowl where he beat double coverage over the top. I think it was about a 30-yard throw, but Eli continues to play very well. Daniel Jones looked pretty good yesterday as well, and they said Deandre Baker really stood out. Darius Slayton remains sidelined, so those are a couple of the news and notes from training camp. But in today's video, we're going to talk about the rookies, and the Giants had a ton of them in this year's draft. I think they had 10 or 11 draft picks, 3 first-round picks, and we're not going to touch on all of them in this video. For example, Slayton hasn't played in training camp due to injury. George Asafo-Adjai, the right tackle, has missed half of it due to a concussion. So those are 2 guys, for example, I'm not going to touch on. Ryan Connolly has looked rather pedestrian, but I expect him to potentially start. He's definitely in that race with how Goodson has missed some time in training camp. I don't think he will, but he's in the running, and I expect him to have a valuable contribution on special teams. And we're going to get to see all these guys play against the New York Jets, so I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm going to talk about some of the impact rookies thus far in training camp, and to me, there's been 5 of them for the most part. The first guy I'm going to touch on, of course, who else would it be, is Daniel Jones, this year's 6th overall pick. Of course, we all know he was a very controversial pick. Not many people had the Giants taking him there at 6, the quarterback out of Duke. But a couple of things you read about this guy that have looked really good and seen on film. His arm strength was definitely underrated by most scouts and teams. You've really seen it in the tape, and he's shown some confidence throwing the football. Yes, he's had some peaks and valleys. There's no doubt about it. As recently as 2 practices ago, he threw his 3rd pick of training camp, and he was 5 of 13. Yesterday, he was much better. I think he was 11 of 17. But when he's looked good, he's looked really good. And when he's looked bad, he's looked really bad, which is what you expect from a rookie. But everything you hear about this kid, he is one of the hardest workers on the team. He's one of the first guys in, one of the last guys out. When he deals with the media, you could see that he's ready for it. You know, he's been schooled well. He has that Eli Manning-like persona. He's not going to say anything stupid. He's going to be a good leader, and that's what you want to hear out of this kid. The other thing that I'm really impressed with, of course, is his athleticism, and we knew he would be. He ran a 4.640, and you know he's a great athlete. So good things out of Daniel Jones thus far for the most part. Yeah, he's had some hiccups, but you like what you've seen overall, and we're going to get a chance to really see him against the New York Jets, and I'm sure he's going to be under a bright microscope. There's no doubt about it. I expect him to play a quarter and a half, and hopefully Jones comes out and proves a lot of the doubters wrong. We'll have to wait and see. As far as the regular season goes, I don't expect to see him anytime soon. At least the first half of the season, I think Eli Manning's the guy. I think he's demonstrated throughout training camp that Eli gives us the best chance to win. For the most part, he's outperformed Jones nearly every practice. So I think Eli Manning going into the year is certainly the guy, but expect to see Jones if the Giants struggle. Second rookie we're going to touch on is actually Corey Ballentine. I think Ballentine was a 5th-round pick, might have been a 6th. I think he was 5th. But Ballentine went to a D2 school, and he was not looked at by many coming out of Washburn. And, you know, he was drafted mainly because of his athletic ability. He had like a 40-inch vertical leap, very fast, and that's why the Giants took him. You know, high upside prospect that late in the draft. And what a story this has been. I thought about doing a standalone video on this kid. I still might. It's like a Hollywood script. I mean, this guy gets drafted by the Giants. A week later, he gets shot. His friend gets killed in that shooting. Fortunately for Ballentine, he was okay. He's now coming to camp, and you keep hearing he gets better and better and better. And every practice, he's involved in something. I think he's had 3 interceptions. He's had a forced fumble. 2 of Daniel Jones' 3 picks have come to Ballentine. And Ballentine yesterday got reps with the first team. As he was rewarded after picking off Daniel Jones for a second time in the previous practice. He was playing opposite the other rookie, Deandre Baker, and they actually played Janoris Jenkins in the slot. So Ballentine is really getting some looks, and I expect him to get more looks in the first training camp game against the New York Jets. So I can't wait to see Ballentine and how he performs first game of the preseason. This kid has really stood out, and you've liked what you've heard. So I'm really rooting for this kid. I hope he makes the team, and I hope maybe he has an expanded role, a more expanded role than we may have initially thought. Another rookie I'm not going to touch on because I haven't heard much out of him out of camp is Julian Love, but he certainly could still get that starting slot corner spot, and I expect to see him on the field against the Jets as well. The next guy up we're going to talk about is big Dexter Lawrence, and I absolutely love this kid. The Giants took him 17th overall out of Clemson, and this guy is a mammoth of a man. 342 pounds, but what impresses you most about this guy, he's not just a run stuffer, which is what his body might indicate. A guy like a Snacks Harrison, and Snacks Harrison is the best in the league at doing that. But this guy has the ability to step outside and make plays. He definitely has that athleticism. There was one play in particular in training camp where he was able to catch Russell Shepard on the sideline from the middle of the field, so on an end around. So, I mean, this guy's athleticism is through the charts. Everything you read about this guy, he's been a standout. He could do it all. He's a great football player, and he is going to pay major dividends for the New York Giants this year. I expect him, of all the rookies, to have the immediate impact. I think he will be the best rookie in this year's class because I think he's already great. You know, I think he's ready for the pros. I really do, and I can't wait to see this guy go against the New York Jets in a couple of days. The next guy we're going to touch on is, hold on one second, screwed up the slide there, is Deandre Baker. Deandre Baker personally was my favorite rookie in this year's class. The cornerback out of Georgia. The Giants traded up to the back end of the first round to get this kid, and you haven't heard a ton about Baker in training camp, but that's a good thing. It's because he's been shutting people down. He's a physical corner, and yesterday they really wrote about this kid, and they said how good he has been performing. And Shermer was quoted as saying is he gets better every practice, and his confidence really stands out, which is what we've heard about this kid. He's a physical corner. He wants to take on the best opposing wide receiver, and he did not give up a touchdown his last 2 years in college. This guy is a dog. The one thing you worry about with him, he's not the speediest corner. He's not the tallest, and he's very physical. So if he screws up at the line of scrimmage in the bump and run coverage, he could get beat over the top. So I expect to see the Giants have some safety help over the top with Baker in a lot of sets, but what you've heard about this kid, he seems like a leader, and he's a guy that I really like. Physical corner, probably my favorite rookie in this year's class. Don't expect him to have the immediate impact of a Lawrence, but I think he's going to play very well. And then finally, the last guy we're going to talk about is the X-Man. The Giants took Ximines in the third round out of Old Dominion, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the first Old Dominion player ever drafted. I could be wrong on that, but I think I remember hearing that. And you've heard a lot of good things about him. Not so much in the recent training camp reports, but, a couple of training camps, 3 or 4 reports ago, they were really talking about this kid and expect him to definitely get some time as a pass rusher for this New York Giant team in the regular season. Of course, he's competing with Marcus Golden. He's competing with Lorenzo Carter. Lorenzo Carter's going to get the bulk of the playing time, but the X-Men certainly will get some time, and he's had a good training camp overall. You've seen him be, you've heard him be in a couple of big plays, sacks, pass breakups, things of that nature. And the X-Men's really stood out. The Giants drafted this kid because of his technique. That's what you've read. He's not the best athlete in the world. He's a decent athlete, but he has a lot of good skills at getting after the quarterback, and he's displayed that in training camp, and I expect to see him have a role on this year's roster. I think all these guys I spoke on are going to have a significant role for the New York Giants. They may not all start, but I think all of them will get some time. Corey Ballentine probably will not be a starting corner, but he could break in as the season goes along, and he may have a role in the return game from what you've read. But, just great stuff from all these rookies. I can't wait to see all of them play against the New York Jets in just 2 short days. Tonight, I will be on with Mr. Bad Dog. I'm not quite sure which channel it's going to be on. I think it'll be on his because we were on my channel last week, but I'll definitely put it in the community notes. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.